California's labor code has a number of rules related to the payment of wages for special occupations. In California's labor code, Division 2, Part 1, Chapter 1, Article 3, it contains rules for payment of wages for special occupations. And Article 3 was added back in 1945 by Chapter 628. Labor Code Section 270 prohibits a person, agent, or officer who's engaged in the business of extracting and refining minerals other than petroleum. They're required to have on hand or deposit with a bank or trust company in the county where their property is located cash or securities of a market value sufficient to pay the wages of every person employed on the mining property. And a violation of this section is a misdemeanor. Section 270.5 provides that no one, including a logging contractor or sawmill operations contractor, who engages in logging or operating a sawmill, they must have a market value sufficient to pay the wages of every person employed in connection with the operations. If they do not have the monies on hand, then they must deposit with the California Labor Commissioner a bond of a surety company authorized to do business within the state that is acceptable to the California Labor Commission, or to do otherwise is a resulting misdemeanor. Section 270.6 provides that no one without a permanent and fixed place of business or residence in this state who uses or employs any person in door-to-door selling of any merchandise or in any telephone solicitations is permitted to fail before the commencement of work in any period for which a single payment of wages is made for 4 calendar weeks, that they must have deposit in a or have a bond of a surety company with the labor commissioner to cover those amounts due. In violation of this section would result in a misdemeanor. Section 271 states that no one engaged in the business of promoting a theatrical enterprise where living individuals are used or employed in the presentation before producing such an enterprise, they must have on deposit with a bank or with a trust company cash or readily saleable securities of a market value sufficient to pay the wages of every individual who's used or employed in the production of this theatrical enterprise. There are some exceptions for certain individuals in a radio or television broadcasting enterprise. Violation of this section would result in a misdemeanor. Section 272 of the Labor Code requires every person or agent who's engaged in certain businesses to keep conspicuously posted at their premises where persons are employed a notice that specifies the name and address of the bank or trust company where the required cash or readily saleable securities are on deposit, or the name of the surety company. And failure to keep that notice conspicuously posted is prima facie evidence of a violation of the law. Section 273 defines the terms all activities relating to an adverse license or registration action, farm labor contractor, final judgment issued by a court, garment manufacturer, involving unpaid wages, licensee, and registrant. The Labor Commissioner is to require an applicant for any of the following to submit a statement whether the applicant has satisfied all requirements imposed by a final judgment issued by a court or a final order issued by the Labor Commissioner. Licensure as a farm labor contractor, registration as a garment manufacturer, renewal or reinstatement of a farm labor contractor license or a garment manufacturer registration, and a change in any of those persons that have been identified. Now, under this section, again, section 273 of the Labor Code, a licensee or registrant is required to notify the Labor Commissioner in writing within 90 days of the date of a final judgment issued by a court or where a final order was issued by the Labor Commissioner. And the Labor Commissioner may reduce the amount of a bond or cash deposit required by this section upon proof of partial satisfaction of the requirements imposed by a final judgment or final order. And finally, the Labor Commissioner is required to suspend the license of a farm labor contractor or the registration of a garment manufacturer who violates provisions of law. It does not apply when obligations have been discharged in a bankruptcy proceeding, however.